Hello, hello. I am Phaedra Boinodiris. I am IBM Consulting's global leader for trustworthy AI.
I am Beth Rudden. I'm the CEO and chairwoman of Bast AI.
I think the clicker's working. No. There we go. I have taken to illustrating comics as my own means of art therapy, working in the space of AI ethics, and I also hope it helps me be a better communicator. There we go.
I built a company after spending 22 years and 7 years as an executive at IBM in order to show the world an alternative for artificial intelligence. Everything that we do at Bast really explains itself, and the entire premise of the artificial intelligence that I am doing has 3 principles. It augments people, all data and insights belong to their creator, and every single piece of an artificial intelligence system is explainable and transparent.
We wanted to start off this conversation by explaining that earning trust in artificial intelligence is not a technical problem. It's not a technical problem with a technical solution. It is socio-technical, which means you really need a holistic approach. And anytime you talk about something that requires a holistic approach, you need to be talking about 3 key things, right? People, process, tools. People meaning what's the right organizational culture required to curate AI responsibly? What are the right processes, AI governance processes, and the right tools in AI engineering frameworks? I'm certain you can guess, of these 3, which is the hardest. It's always the people, always the culture. So we're going to talk a bit about what is the right organizational culture that is required to curate AI responsibly. There are 3 key tenets. 1 is you have to approach this space with humility. As much as there is to learn about artificial intelligence, there's also a lot that has to be unlearned, right? Open growth mindset. The second thing is that you truly need to have a diverse and inclusive group of human beings developing artificial intelligence. These are the results of an Institute for Business Value study that we came out with last year that talked about who's working in technology today compared to who's working in AI, right? 33% women in technology today, only 6% working in AI. 10% Black, Indigenous people of color in tech, only 6% AI. 4% LGBTQ+ in tech, only 1% working within AI. The third tenet, and this may even be the most challenging, is that the groups of people working to develop AI also have to be multidisciplinary. And it's not just in terms of who's developing AI responsibly, but who's crafting the governance around AI. So the way that we tackle this, of course, is through education, right? Education. These are, what you're seeing on this screen are all the different kinds of forms of education that we've rolled out across business function throughout IBM. We've got synchronous training, we've got asynchronous training, and we've got applied training. Of these different kinds of training, of these different kinds of education, by far the stickiest is the applied training. And the way that we do this applied training is through something called our Center of Excellence, where we say, we don't care what your background is. You have a background in psychology, sociology, anthropology, design, you're interested in social justice, you're interested in law, you're welcome here. You have a seat at this table. Work with our data scientists, with our machine learning scientists, and tackle challenges, real-life challenges around the subject of AI and trust. So here's an example. These are different examples of projects that we undertook through our Center of Excellence. And one of the more recent ones, which we completed, was with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. The challenge that we tackled with them was considering if you had an AI model that was having conversations with under-credentialed people in communities, so that you could help them determine what are their skills and competencies and attach evidence associated with those skills and competencies so that they could get a job, right? And we came up as an ecosystem with 4 different key personas. Incarcerated people, the caregiver, the Uber driver, a gig worker, the soldier. And again, global, diverse, multidisciplinary teams thinking about what are the unique challenges that each of these different kinds of people that may represent these different communities, what do they face? And what should we consider as practitioners as we're thinking about developing an AI model that's actually going to have a conversation about a person's skill? For example, the mom of 4, who of course, she's a logistician, she's an event planner, she's the financial analyst, a nurse, nutritionist, psychologist, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. She's going to communicate with an AI that's going to say, what are your skills and competencies, and now attach evidence? Here's my picture of my 4-year-old, right? Like, what does evidence look like? What about the incarcerated person who may end up oversharing and says, I want to retract my statement, or English is not their first language, or they're mentally ill and start talking about their suicidal thoughts. What do we, as practitioners, as folks who are designing artificial intelligence, what do we need to think about when we're approaching how do we design something like this? So we use design thinking frameworks. This one is a design thinking framework which our AI Design Guild donated to the open source community. So if you go to designethically.com, you can see this called Layers of Effect, along with a whole bunch of different other frameworks. And in essence, the way that you use this design thinking framework is you say, bring the most diverse and inclusive group of people together who have truly varied lived world experiences to think through unintended harm. To think through, given this particular potential harm, what are the values of the organization? What are the rights of your individuals or your subjects? And how would you design in order to mitigate for that potential harm? So some of the layers of effect that we came up with, the concerns around risk of such a model, included things like valuation of evidence. What is that mom gonna show? And is there gonna be bias against the evidence which she might attach to that model from the recruiter, right? Another one is language accessibility. If English isn't their primary language, how do you approach something like that? Or what if they're conversing in some form of slang, right? And then, of course, other different forms of bias as well.
Explaining what data is used in the models and how algorithms work is the most practical way to get AI implemented and adopted. What we did with the Chamber is, in order to showcase the technology that can really help augment these incarcerated people, the mother, the soldier, we wanted an artificial intelligence that could interoperate with the people and give them the language and help them understand why that mother is a logistician? Yes. Logistician, or why that mother understands supply chain, or why that mother understands budgeting, or why that mother is able to handle 4 kids under 10 years old. All of those things require explainability. And this is what I set out to do, and I opened my company exactly a year ago today. When I really started with understanding how to give people this type of information, you get really, really crazy sore eye charts like this, but what I'm trying to do is show my work. There is no hand-waving in math. And when we are talking about artificial intelligence, which has already impacted every single industry, every single person on Earth, everyone should demand evidence and demand what source of data was used in order to be able to give that prediction. About 3 months ago, I was out and I was doing a podcast, and somebody came to me and said, hey, I run a company that I really want to create a medic co-pilot for a medic in theater, in war. Have you ever heard of medevac? And I said, actually, my husband's been a medevac pilot for the last 20 years. And I remember that 19 years ago, he was studying in order to become a pilot. And we were driving from Dothan, Alabama, down to Florida to see my parents, and the child was screaming in the back of the car, and we were trying to distract each other. And he was telling me, he's like, "Hey, can you quiz me on what I need to know, my 5 and 9s, my safety procedures?" And as I was quizzing him, he would get really upset because he would get 1 or 2 words wrong. And I'm like, what does it matter if you get 1 or 2 words wrong? Can't you just give a variation of this? And he told me something that I am now using today. When pilots, when medics, when people are in an emergency situation, it is not the time to make crap up. It is the time to have exact, evidence-based information delivered to you in a way that makes sense to your muscle memory. So imagine a medic in theater dealing with multiple patients, multiple injuries, and the medic goes, "What's the next step in this protocol?" That information can now be delivered to that medic using my technology. And one of the reasons that I wanted to showcase this example is I wanted to build it so that everyone could have access. So it operates without internet connectivity. And that's something that's really, really important to me, because I imagine a world where people in rural places who do not have enough time to get to hospital to have basic medical information that is validated, sourced. You show the picture of where it comes from. You show your confidence level in your classification based on your human input, and you show the source for every single reference that you give. This is how we should be demanding that all artificial intelligence be built. Here's another one that I'm using in order to really help oncologists talk to their patients about their diagnosis. And this is where we can get into the language of understanding and having an artificial intelligence that the human being who just got that diagnosis can ask all of the questions, and you know that those questions will be sourced by the information that you provided that artificial intelligence. The promise of AI is hyper-personalization. And very first thing that we did, or I did, is I put our entire book into my artificial intelligence system. And when I'm interacting with my conversational AI, which I call a cat because I wanted to differentiate it from a bot, I also named my company Bast. The cat delivers me information, and it's delightful because I trust it. I know how it works. I know where it comes from. I understand exactly why it's giving me the answer that it is. This idea of hyper-personalization, this idea of delivering information that is about you, that you own, that you maintain, that is not being used in order to engage you on a device. All of this is the promise of AI. So imagine that teacher having 30 different individualized plans and interacting with 30 different artificial intelligences from each one of their students, relating new information to their existing mental models. Making people understand the promise of AI is hyper-personalization, but we have to change how we look at artificial intelligence, and we have to change and show the world that we need to see the sources that are being used in order to train it. This is a creation, I call it a co-creation, that I do with Midjourney. And when I create something using an artificial intelligence that I do not have the referenceability for the sources, I try to explain what I was doing here. And one of the big things that Phaedra just talked about was multidisciplinary. And this prompt was, conversational AI will do for fuzzies what machine learning did for techies. And fuzzies are all you liberal arts majors like me, who are out there really trying to get on in this world that is more statistically driven and probabilistically driven. So understanding that conversational AI can give you the language to mathsplain to the mathsplainers. Here's our book. We're really proud of it. We really wanted to put this out there so that everybody understood that AI is for the rest of us. AI is for every single human on Earth. If we want a representative sample, we need 1.6 billion, or 20% of 8 billion people who are AI literate.
Thank you for your time.